Hello, I'm Chris Williams from Read Comics They're Bad For You, the name of my YouTube channel. Or if you're watching this on BitChute, the name of my BitChute channel is Comic Freak. Today we're going to be reading this article. Crazy person says Reylo more popular than the Fandom Menace. Apparently another out of it SJW leftist has decided to get into the ring and start spouting their nonsense again because they obviously think they're right and everyone else is wrong. The SJW in question, Katie can only be heard in Fortnite. Okay, cracks knuckles, here's the thing. If you're going to make a movie based on fandoms, wants, wishes, and dreams, maybe crunch some freaking numbers. I did this weeks ago, but let's take one example from April-September 2019. Reylo got 158% more tweets than the Fandom Menace. Is that so, Katie? Let's take a look at this graph. That's very nice, but I don't think it's really true. I mean, if you had a couple of climate scientists saying if we don't follow this graph, then global warming will happen, maybe I would take it seriously. But how many more of those tweets were Fandom Menacers talking about Reylos? Regardless, the Fandom Menace talks about things other than itself all of the time and aren't seekers of popularity. Here's another tweet from Katie. No, Fandom Menace is not representative of the entire population of The Last Jedi haters, and Reylo is not a representative of the entire population that loved The Last Jedi. Also, both include anti-comments. However, each are a good sample of organized movements on both sides that are easy to quantify. Are you sure it's a good sample of organized movements, like the article says? How much of that is just people just doing, shit posting and that sort of thing? Otherwise, your argument kind of fails, I think, because it just feels that way. Not to mention, it feels like you're just using this graph to justify what you say about the Fandom Menace. In my opinion, I think that graph is wrong, so I think what you're saying is just wrong as well. What organization? There isn't any organization in the Fandom Menace. What on earth are you talking about? Normal people don't organize. That crap is for idiot activists. Another tweet from Katie. So I repeat, Reylo, a community who loves the Star Trek on a whole and wanted what was best for the Star Trek characters and the story The Last Jedi told us, received 93,448 tweets in a 6-month period. Fandom Menace, a community who hates the Star Trek and is fueled by hate and misogyny, received 11,032 tweets. A collective, collaborative, corporative community. Yes, hate this misogyny that we know, but all of this might prove is that Reylos are potentially chatterboxes. Big whoop. Yes, these Reylos are chatterboxes, and listening to them is what I think, having a bird pick at your eyeballs is like. More from Katie. What's more, from April to September 2019, only 2,868 users have tweeted about Fandom Menace versus the 15,252 users tweeting about Reylo, plus 137. How to read each circle equals one user. Size of circle indicates of tweets mentioning topic per user. Color indicates total of, engagements on tweets. Well, from this graph I can see that the Phantom Menace has a bunch of circles that are far bigger, which looks to be good, while the Reylos have a bunch of smaller circles, far more than the Phantom Menace. But I've looked ahead in the article and I've read that a good portion of those people and users on the Reylo side could just be talking about shipping in general. And that means that a good portion of them don't really care about Reylo at all. Which unfortunately means for you, Katie, that your argument is rather invalid because your statistics are skewed to an unreliable degree. But again, Reylos seem to be more prone to talking about themselves than normal people are, and there's no way of knowing how many of those Reylo tweets are Fandom Menacers mocking Reylos and shipping in general. And that puts your argument in another light. How many of those people are there just to mock you? Your article, your graph there only shows how many people are actually on your, particular area talking about Reylos. But that could also be about them mocking the Reylos. I mean, they're still talking about Reylos. They could just be there trolling the other side and just having fun in general. While the graph with the Fandom Menace has a bunch of circles that are far bigger, which means in those particular arguments they're basically on track and basically talking about what the Fandom Menace usually talks about. And we basically talk about a mirror things, not just Star Wars, but apparently it makes our graph look far more reliable than Reylo's at least. So look, Disney, when The Rise of Skywalker inevitably doesn't meet expectations, know that it has nothing to do with the popularity of The Last Jedi or the Star Trek characters, and everything to do with choosing to appeal to a hateful niche group online who holds little power. You think so, huh? You think Disney was trying to appeal to this hateful niche group? Well, they weren't trying to appeal to you Reylo fans, while including the fact that Reylo happened in The Rise of Skywalker. Only the fact that Kylo Ren actually dies instead of actually him and Rey living together and living happily on, Luke Skywalker's old moisture farm and basically squatting in his house. Thankfully, we were saved from that fate when J.J. Abrams killed off Kylo Ren, probably because he wanted to try to appeal to the old fans by killing off Kylo, but also to the Reylos when he had them actually kiss. Well, at least you're admitting that this is about power over others to you rather than about love of Star Wars. Now let's hope all those powerful Reylos can prevent the box office for Rise of Skywalker to have the same massive second weekend drop-off that The Last Jedi did, or worse, then maybe they can use some of their power to purchase all those Rey and Kylo action figures rotting away in clearance aisles and dollar stores. But maybe you ought to familiarize yourself with the sentiment analysis that Disney commissioned, which proved that they knew all along that critics were not a tiny vocal minority. Yes, that's right. Katie was talking about how she loves the Star Wars, but what she just said basically indicates she cares more about the power that Star Wars gives her, and how she basically tries to lord it over the, Fandom Menace people. And how she says it's a niche group, but how everybody is actually respecting the power of this niche group and now fear it in Hollywood. Here's Katie's final tweet. Also, maybe just try to, make art next time. Now listen here, Katie. Roundhead Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams pretty much do everything you really want in a movie, at least in the Star Wars movies, with their agenda politics and their feminazi pandering, but no one calls the Star Wars movies, especially the Disney trilogy, art. In fact, they're pretty much anathema to art and pretty much make anyone who sees them pretty much want to retch, especially those highbrow art guys you see at art shows. If they watch this kind of thing, they probably don't enjoy it because they see it as basically a disgrace to cinema. You know, like the director Martin Scorsese, how he hates the Disney MCU movies. He probably doesn't like the Disney trilogy either, because they're not really cinema. Now, he could probably like the original Star Wars trilogy, because he probably sees it as, lowbrow art, but it's still art. Unlike the Disney movies, which are just made to basically sell a product, either a toy or a Happy Meal from McDonald's, because the Disney movies are not and have never been anything more than a product Disney has pushed to try and make as much money as possible. I mean, they used to do real art. I mean, yes, like the Star Wars movies, they were lowbrow and they were only made to appeal to children. But nowadays, it's just made by a corporation on a committee that makes movies. They tell them, do this, and do this, and this will make us money. And that's not really cinema. All they're doing is basically building a house with a bunch of prefabricated parts, but to make each house different, they're just basically moving each part around, which means each movie Disney makes just basically splashes on a fresh coat of paint and mixes up the plot, but otherwise each movie is exactly the same. So Katie, they're doing exactly what you want. The thing is, they have to move the plot around so the general population doesn't realize that they're basically paying tickets to see the same movie over and over again. And also, of course, they're going to try to appeal to the old fans because they want to get as many people to come to this movie because they're all greedy bastards because they're Disney after all. So if you like this video, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed because YouTube is currently doing a subscriber purge and an ad revenue purge. So make sure you're still subscribed. If you're watching my videos but you have not subscribed, please go to my YouTube channel. Read comics. They're bad for you. and subscribe. Then go over to BitChute and then subscribe to my BitChute channel, Comic Freak. Hit that bell for notifications, hit that like button, and leave some comments down below. And if you could you also please share this video, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere you think it would do the most good, because YouTube is also not going around promoting their own YouTube creators anymore, so it would really help me if you could please share this video. Now listen closely, keep checking back in all my future videos for more information on my own upcoming independent comic book scumdogs. I'm Chris Williams, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video or review.